Well, well, well. Obviously, I have a giant Nintendo Switch collection. And every time I show these games off, people are like, Max, when do you have time to play these games? When are you going to play this game? Every time it's just like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to play this. It's going to be played in the future. And then by the time I do my end of recap video, everyone gets so upset at me. They're like, Max, why didn't you put all this time into these games? It's not like you have 2 jobs and do all the boxing stuff and everything else that you do. Why don't you put all that time into playing more games? And you know what? I was tired of those comments. So this year, I was determined to beat more Switch games than I ever had since the system has released. And we're back here again. I've beaten 3 more Switch games. And today we're going to be talking about all those Switch games that I've played, beaten, giving you a quick review, how I felt about the game, and yeah, let's just get right into it. The Nintendo Switch. I love this system, but I own too many games, but we're getting through them. We're getting through all these Switch games. I'm proving everyone wrong this year. Starting off is a game that I went through such a journey trying to beat. In fact, I streamed my whole playthrough of playing this game. And I went through it with this game. When this game came out for the Nintendo Switch, I was super excited because I felt this is a game that should have already been on the Switch. Considering how successful Tropical Freeze was, it kind of felt like a no-brainer to have this game on the Switch, especially since it didn't look like we were going to get a brand new Donkey Kong game on the Nintendo Switch, which we never got a brand new Donkey Kong game. We just got remasters. So when this was announced, I was pretty excited because I did not have the opportunity to play this on the Wii or 3DS. And when the game came out, definitely had some issues out there that I felt was a little typical Nintendo if you think about it, but it was $60. And you know, the $60 remasters don't really bother me. I've explained why Nintendo does it, but I felt that Nintendo truly did nothing with this. If you look at Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, you can see that some of the textures, they were not updated. They ported the 3DS version onto the Nintendo Switch because I believe the 3DS had a little bit of extra content compared to the Wii, so it made sense that they would go with that. But from a visual standpoint, they did not do really much. Like the running animation, you can still see the 3DS textures. If you're like in lava or something, a fire level volcano, you can see those 3DS textures there. This was very noticeable, and I think out of all the remasters that I've played from Nintendo, this was the one that they quite literally did nothing. It's the most just normal, like this is something that should be priced $20 really with the amount of work that Nintendo put into this. But that's besides the point. The actual game was super fun and I felt extremely accomplished every time I beat a level. There are levels in this game that were very difficult, but at the end of the day, I always got through them. It might have taken a few tries, maybe more than just a few tries, but at the end of the day, I got through it and I felt very accomplished playing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Another issue that I don't know if this is an actual issue or not, or if I am just really bad at the game, but my streaming audience, and again, I don't know if this is true, but my streaming audience pointed out that the hitboxes within Donkey Kong Country Returns HD are really ridiculous. And it seems to be very noticeable when you are on the barrel blast levels. Listen, with the times that I died in the barrel blast levels, I did feel like the hitbox was definitely ridiculous in those levels. That there was times that I died in there that I really shouldn't have died. And again, I don't know if that's an actual issue within the game, but it was something that my stream audience pointed out that people have been talking about, and I felt like it was kind of important to point that out. And if that truly is an issue, it just goes to tell you that this port that Nintendo did, that's not even a port, it's a remaster, it's just the most bare bones remaster that Nintendo has ever done, in my opinion. So I felt like charging $60 for this was kind of messed up, but I get why they do it. Everyone's gonna buy it. This is gonna sell a few million copies most likely. It makes sense why they do it, because people are gonna complain but still end up paying for it. The game felt absolutely incredible though. I loved every second of it. I enjoyed what I played other than the issues that we talked about. And it makes me really looking forward to finishing the Donkey Kong Country series. I'm very close to finishing Tropical Freeze already, and me and Coleman have talked about maybe even streaming the original Donkey Kong Country games.
No!
We might, I don't know. I think that's gonna be an interesting stream because both me and Coleman are probably going to be yelling at each other, but I wanna play all of these games here because this was something truly special. And I think Retro Studios has done a really good job with this game. Now, what the future of Donkey Kong is, I think is going to be very interesting to see as we head to the Nintendo Switch 2, as it comes across that we're getting a brand new Donkey Kong design. So if we're getting a new Donkey Kong design, I feel like that means we're probably getting a Donkey Kong game in the very near future. And I'm curious to see how that's going to be because it's obviously not going to be Retro Studios. It's obviously not going to be Rare. This is going to be a new studio behind the Donkey Kong games, which could be a good or bad thing. Nonetheless, I feel like this is a game that if you can find it for $20 to $30, I think maybe even $30 might be a little bit too much for this. Like, it's a great game, a really good game. It's just from the quality perspective, the issues that it might be having with the hitboxes, the fact that those 3DS textures are still there, it's hard for me to recommend this to you guys for $30. I think $20 is the perfect price for this game because this is something that you would see any other company charge when it comes to remasters. Like, I compare the Star Wars remastered games. They are bare bone remasters and they charge $20 for it because they know they didn't do much to it. This kind of felt like what Nintendo did with this. And I know Nintendo's known for that, but this really was the most bare-boned remaster out there. It doesn't even add anything new. There's no funky mode like there is for Tropical Freeze. So I feel like for $20, you know, that's what I'd charge for it personally. And on a scale of 1 to 10, what would I give the game? Well, the game is incredible, but I'm looking at it from the Switch port, the issues that it has, the fact that it's $60, adds no content. I feel like an 8 out of 10 is what I could give this game. It has issues, but it's an overall phenomenal game. Beautiful levels, like the sun levels are incredible. Those levels do look good on the Switch, but a lot of this you can tell it's just a 3DS remaster with no updates. The next one that I beat was one that I'm kind of conflicted on because I really love this series, but there was things that this game did that I don't know how I truly feel about it because it reminds me of something else that we'll be going into later. But the game that I had beaten is Life is Strange 2. And I played it on the Nintendo Switch, which is probably not surprising for you guys that are watching this video, but I know the Switch version is probably the version people would try to avoid, just considering the history of Switch ports for third-party games. But Life is Strange 2, let's talk about the Switch port, then I'll talk about the actual game. Now, I had some pretty high expectations for the Life is Strange 2 Switch port. Now, if you guys don't know, I did a whole series talking about third-party Switch games. I reviewed 100 third-party Switch games on this YouTube channel. And one of those games that I reviewed was Life is Strange True Colors. I thought that that was one of the best Switch ports I have ever played. And I couldn't believe how well they were able to get that game on the Switch. It looked good, it having a good frame rate, and everything that consisted of it. It felt like something that was kind of impossible. And the company that made it, Dragon's Lake, is the one that did the Life is Strange True Colors port. They were also hired to do the Life is Strange 2 Switch port. And when I found that news out, I was like, oh my god, this is probably going to be an incredible Switch port. And to be truthfully honest with you, out of all the Life is Strange games that I've played on the Switch, and at the time of this recording, I've played all of them on the Switch except Double Exposure, this had to be the worst one that they've ever made when it comes to the series. In fact, I was incredibly disappointed because I thought a different development team might have worked on this because it felt like a completely different port from what the True Colors port was. And unfortunately, I was pretty disappointed with the Switch port. In fact, it reminded me of the Arcadia Bay collection. I don't know who developed that, but I know it wasn't Dragon's Lake. But it really felt like they just shoved like the PlayStation 4, 5 version onto the Nintendo Switch with no optimization, no type of fixes to make it work best for the Nintendo Switch. This was a port that they kind of, in my opinion, rushed out and didn't put the type of effort into it like they did with True Colors. I mean, at one point of the game, I was struggling to find the item because of how the Switch version looked. I didn't even see the game's item that I was looking for because of the lighting of the Switch port. There were so many things that was done wrong with this port, and it just didn't feel like the same development team that worked on this is the same team that did True Colors. It was absolutely insane. Visually, it also kind of struggles. I mean, even my friends Coleman and Luke made fun of me for playing the Switch version because I was on the final part of the game and their t-shirts weren't even loading in all the way for like the entire 10-minute duration of that scene. There was a lot of issues with it, and I was just very, very disappointed because Dragon's Lake did such a phenomenal job of True Colors that this did not feel like the same thing here. Frame rate also was kinda all over the place at times. Most of the time I had a locked frame rate, but then there was times that frame rate was pretty insane. But I finished the whole game on Nintendo Switch, and I have to say that I don't feel like I could recommend the Switch version for this. However, if the Switch was your only platform, it's playable, it works, you get to see the story, it's just, it feels worse than Arcadia Bay Collection that was worked on. And if y'all know how I felt about the Arcadia Bay Collection, I said it was a very good frame rate, but it felt like they just shoved the PS5 version of those games with no optimization. They didn't make a Switch-focused version. And this game can run on the Switch. You just have to be smart and take time to put these games on the Switch. That is what we've proven with the Nintendo Switch over the last 7 years. We've seen incredible things happen, things that could be considered impossible, and it look really good. Now, I want to talk about the actual game here. I felt like what made the Life is Strange series so special is that it truly felt like your choices mattered. You could have some sort of choice that would happen that would really affect the game for the whole entire game. You know, Telltale Games promoted that as their game system, but at the end of the day with those games, your choices did not matter when it came to Telltale Games. And I feel like that's what made Life is Strange so special. They were proving that your choices do matter. And when I was playing Life is Strange 2, it did not feel like my choices mattered at all. Maybe towards the end of the game, but if I told Daniel that I wanted to do this or not do this, they would still end up doing the thing that I said not do. And it felt like that the entire game with all of the characters that you meet on this journey. It was very, very sad to play because it was very noticeable to me throughout each episode that all these choices that I'm making just did not matter. And I guess because there's like 7 different endings to Life is Strange 2, that's where they're like, oh, the choices matter. Look at how many different endings there are. But to me, I was very unsatisfied with that. And it also felt like from a gameplay perspective, this was the most bland Life is Strange game that I played from a gameplay perspective. There was no gameplay here. And I know people are going to be like, what? Life is Strange has gameplay? I'm telling you, these games can have gameplay. Life is Strange has some incredible gameplay mechanics. The first one, True Colors, there is great mechanics with those games. This one quite literally is a point and click. There is nothing special with the gameplay. And I was pretty annoyed by that. The story of these characters, I was very intrigued of. I liked learning about these characters, but I kept getting annoyed by the fact that there was no gameplay. There was no type of choices matter. It just felt like every time whatever ended up happening, it would just go with the other route, whatever the game wanted it to be. And I was pretty disappointed by that, but I loved learning about these characters. I loved seeing different characters each episode because it was always a different cast with Daniel and Sean being around them. Different characters with Daniel and Sean. It was great. I loved seeing that because they were basically on the run. Trying not to spoil too much here, but I love seeing that. I love seeing the brothership of Daniel and Sean, and overall, it was really cool to see that. That's why I have a lot of good to say about this, but a lot of the cons that I have were a big problem to me. That's why I give Life is Strange 2 a 7.5 out of 10, which, if you guys know me with the Life is Strange games, it's pretty low because I've always had a pretty high standard with these games, but I was pretty disappointed by the choices and gameplay. That would be really the issues I would talk about. And obviously the Switch port not being anywhere what it should have been was also pretty disappointing. I did just pick up Double Exposure, so I will be playing that. I'm curious to see how that one's gonna be because don't even think those games came to PS4. And I know it's a new development team behind the Switch port of that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Next one is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, this is probably gonna shock a lot of people that I had not beaten this game yet, but this game kinda came out at a pretty bad time when it was released. Obviously, it released on October 20th, 2023. Do you know what also came out that day? Spider-Man 2. And if you guys don't know me, I love Spider-Man to death. So I obviously chose Spider-Man over Mario. And by the time I was done with Spider-Man, there was more Switch games on the way. Super Mario RPG came out a few weeks later after Mario Bros. Wonder. I forgot what else, but there was a lot of Nintendo games that was all coming out at the same time, really. So this game kind of continued to get sent to the back burner, basically. And I never got a chance to finish the game. And there's a lot that I like with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but there's things that I also really did not like and was pretty disappointed. Let's first talk about something I really like. The art style of Super Mario Bros. Wonder is phenomenal. This was beautiful, and I'm looking forward to seeing this style used for the future of 2D Mario games, because the new series, seeing that art style, I mean, it was cool at first, but when you see it for what, was it like 14 years that we had the new Super Mario Bros. Games going? Because there was one on the DS, so that was like 2006. And then we had New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which came out in 2019. So yeah, like 14, 13 years. You're kind of tired of seeing those styles. And there was so many of those games. You had one on the 3DS, one on the Wii U, one on we had the port come to the Switch, then the DS, then the Wii. We're just tired of new Super Mario Bros. So it was cool to see something fresh come out of this. And it looked beautiful. And from the gameplay reveal of this, when it got shown off, it looked like this was gonna be absolutely incredible with everything that was shown off. However, there's issues here. One of those things that the game promotes heavily is badges. Badges can be all sorts of things. You can have a mushroom immediately as the level starts. You can have the vine that kind of is like a Terraria reference, it feels like. There's all sorts of badges that's supposed to make the game easier. There's like a double jump badge. There is ridiculous badges. And I felt these badges kind of ruined the game because, as I pointed out earlier, it can make the game very easy. And a lot of these badges that are used feels like it got rid of potential power-ups that could have been used for the series of Mario Bros, let alone Mario Bros. Wonder. And speaking of power-ups, there is only 4 power-ups total. I was disappointed to learn that because I feel like what was so cool about the Mario Bros. Games, especially when there was a new one out, you're like, oh wow, I wonder what new exciting features are going to be here with the power-ups, or what old power-ups could be returning. I think the only returning power-up we got was the Fire Flower, and obviously the Mushroom. There was only 4 power-ups, man. That was super disappointing to see. And I think the reason why that is because of the badges. Not to mention, some of these badges' gameplay mechanics kind of felt all over the place. Now, the one that's really cool, I like how you can use Mario's hat to like float around, but when I use that badge, I'm like, wait a second. This is not something I would see in a 2D Mario game. This feels like a gameplay mechanic that would be in a 3D Mario. And so when I looked at more of these badges, I'm like, wait a second. This doesn't feel like a 2D Mario game. What is this? Obviously, you can turn off the badges, but that's one of the thing's main features is badges. Obviously, another thing is the Wonder Flowers. And I'm all over the place with Wonder Flowers. There are some levels that have 2 or 3 Wonder Flowers, and I feel like they should have separate levels. Like each level should only have 1 Wonder Flower. I felt like by the time you were done with the Wonder Flower that you find in the level, it kind of feels like a pretty stale level. And it feels like it like forces itself to have 2 Wonder Flowers, but could also have the possibility, depending the level that you're on, that it could be its own level without the Wonder Flower. I felt like it was kind of a cop-out to do how they handled the 2 Wonder Flowers. Because, I don't know, I feel like there should have either been 1, or if you were going to do 2, just separate levels from it. I don't like that there was multiple Wonder Flowers into 1 level, because again, this is something that you would see in a 3D Mario game. I feel like the best example is kind of like Mario Galaxy. You could find stars in the level, but if you collected that star, you were done with that level and you had to go back. Obviously with Mario Wonder, they don't do anything like that, but I don't think I liked the mechanics of having 2 Wonder Seeds, Wonder Flowers, whatever they're called. I didn't like that, and that's probably going to be a hot take there, but I feel like there was something that they could have done that would have made it more smoother transition, and not feel so useless at the same time, if you get what I'm saying with that second Wonder Flower. I did like the challenges that this game brought with certain levels, with the badges. I'll give it that, because sometimes this game could be pretty difficult, but most of the time it was pretty easy. And I don't know if it's really right for me to compare the difficulty right now, because I'm obviously coming off the back of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and that's obviously a way more difficult game than the Mario Bros. Series, because that's something that's supposed to be very easy to make everyone be able to play the game. I did like all the references that this game brought. The Easter eggs were there. I don't know, when I finished the game, I was like, it really feels like they could have done more here. It feels like they got rid of things that made this game, at least the 2D Mario games, so special, and incorporated new things that was either making the games easier or just doing things that did not feel like a 2D Mario. I still enjoyed this game a lot, because a lot of the levels of this game were pretty cool. I feel like from a creativity standpoint, this was probably one of the more creative Mario games that we've gotten out of there with the 2D Mario games. Those badges, the power-ups, the Wonder Seeds, 2 per level. There was so many things that I feel like the styles kind of ruined what could have made this game really, really, really good. I still enjoyed it, and I might be coming across pretty negative when I say this, but I feel like I have to give Super Mario Bros. Wonder a 7 out of 10. I felt like a lot of what made the Mario Bros. Series special, particularly with these 2D games, was the fact that you had power-ups, you had levels designed for those power-ups, and with Mario Bros. Wonder, like the bubble power-up, that was one of the coolest new power-ups that the Mario series has ever had. And there was so much potential to do stuff with that power-up that the game didn't do. I love the art style of this. I love the direction that the 2D Mario games are going. I think that whoever developed Mario Bros. Wonder, the next 2D game, is going to be really, really good, because they're gonna know what to fix, what not to do. I feel like the direction is going to be a lot better, and I feel like a lot of the praise for Mario Bros. Wonder is just because of people being tired of the new Super Mario Bros. Series. I think if this game was considered bad, it still would have been good for everyone else, because they just wanted to be done with the new series. They wanted something new, like an actual new 2D Mario game that didn't have anything to do with the new series, and that's what they got. And I feel like a lot of people are praising this when they're thinking of those games, because they've had to play those for so long. I still enjoyed this, but there's issues here. I mean, even the quote-unquote online multiplayer, is it even online multiplayer? Nintendo, what are we doing here? This game should have actual online multiplayer. It has so many different playable Mario characters. Like, there's so much in here that should have been online play, ready to go, but we're like going back in time with the Wii U era, where Nintendo didn't do really much with online. They would do weird online features. And I don't know if it has something to do with 2D, because I've noticed 2D games tend to not have the greatest online support from Nintendo. If you look at Super Mario Maker 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But 7 out of 10. I feel like a 7 out of 10 is fair, and I have a strong suspicion that the comments are going to disagree with me on this. I still enjoyed the game. I don't know, I feel like Mario Odyssey comparisons are going to be made in the comments. People are going to be like, he doesn't like Mario Odyssey, which I never said that. I literally never said that I hated Mario Odyssey. I just don't think it's as good as the other 3D Mario games. That's literally all I said. And everyone's like, bro, this guy hates Mario Odyssey. It is what it is. Guys, those are the 3 Switch games that I have beaten in the month of February. I want to know what you guys have played. Have you beaten anything? Anything I should be playing? Let me know in the comments down below. I've enjoyed playing these games. I'm hoping to do one of these videos once a month. That'd be pretty cool if I could pull that off. But if not, it is what it is. I feel like I'm already doing a way better job of playing the Switch games than I did over the last year. I really took those comments very to heart with that one video. So you know what? I'm going to be conquering the Nintendo Switch backlog. So I have been talking for way too much. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out the Twitter, check out the Discord, check out the Instagram, all that good stuff. Giant announcement coming very, very soon. Like, this should be coming out in March, I think. So if this comes out in March, you're getting that announcement this month in March. Stay tuned, guys. It is the biggest announcement, and it's huge. It is huge. That's all I can say. Get excited. Become an Auto Marine, $5 a month. It does help out the channel a lot, especially with this big announcement. Oh my gosh, the big announcement. Okay, all right. I'm done. I'm done teasing the big announcement, at least in this video. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Y'all see my awesome Shovel Knight t-shirt that I got at the Steal Thy concert in New York City? Oh my gosh.